Hello and welcome back to the Trekcraft server. I'm currently just dinking around on the Klingon ship. Figure I'd just do a little bit of recording as I go here, kind of talk about what I'm planning on doing with the build. Nothing too extravagant, just playing along here, trying to sort things out, because I've never done a Klingon build before, so it's interesting to work on one. Right now I'm working on the largest deck of the ship. I'm just kind of filling in columns and the floor pattern for her. And I'll pounce out real quick and I'll show you some of the things I've changed since the first video, just because, yeah, it seemed like a good idea to do at the time. But yeah, this is the meat and potatoes part. This is how you make the sausage, I guess. It's not real glamorous, but it can be, depending on how you like to do stuff. I mean, if you're like me, I do this to alleviate stress and stuff like that. So I just come through and I just focus on the build and try to shut everything else out and see the ship as if I were, if this were real and I was actually designing something like this. Granted, you can't get all the engineering stuff down, albeit there are some builders who are very good at trying. And they're very effective at making some of the ships look really downright cool, especially Creeper. He has a gift for it, so check out his builds. They are very, very impressive. Okay, so we want this block. It goes up and around and down, like so. And the reason I'm doing this is I plan to use this deck as the starting point to finish the rest of the interior of the ship, and I have to design a lot of ship systems and figure out where they go and how to design them, because there's a lot of real estate to fill, and this is a Klingon ship, so I'm not real sure what real estate to fill it with, but we'll get to it. But it's just going to be a process of getting stuff done and doing things like that. These are dead spaces in the ship, spots that will have no blocks in them. So I fill these empty spaces with black terracotta. You can use whatever block you want. The reason for it is that the game will try to light every place in the ship, and in doing so, it can cause latency issues for your build, and you don't want that. You don't want latency issues when you're trying to do stuff. You want it to flow really smooth, because some of these builds get pretty darn big. So just having a block fill the space where there's no air goes a long ways. Goes a long ways. Through here, I'm planning on doing a ribbed system. So kind of like I do, you can see it right here, the pattern. And then I'll go back through on the whole areas here. I may fill these spots with additional blocks, or I might just leave them the way they are. My mind is leave them the way they are. I wanted to access this system for this room right here. I want to be able to get to this. This is an exterior system, and I need to fill it, have a room dedicated to it. And I'm thinking of this room down here being dedicated to a portion of it. And I guess I could, nah, that should be okay. I can go ahead and break some of these blocks right here. And so anyways, the system will be accessible. I'll, build a branching system for it, but basically it'll break these blocks. The system will mainly be like a panel for the outside, sort of like a deflector or a scanner, and it'll be a long panel like a solar panel, and then it'll just have a connection down here to this area here, and then, you know, I really believe it's going to be part of the cloaking system, to be honest with you. So these will be like cloaking panels and stuff like that. So that's my logic. I'm sticking to it. Yep, I can do that. Can I do this one? Maybe yes. Okay, this up here is a not Jeffrey Sue, but a gangway. So yeah. All right, so I'm happy with that. That'll work for me. Yeah, it'll come down, and it may or may not affect this room. If it does, I will branch this room off like this and make it part of that room right there, just an offshoot. let's go ahead and bounce back down to here. I've decided to make this big central room here the training, um, combat training room. So a lot of Klingon warrior stuff going on here, and I have absolutely no idea how to design that. You know, Eh, how do you design a Klingon warrior room? Hmm, good luck. Now, if I wanted to expand it, I could get rid of this corridor, and that corridor, and that corridor, and they can just walk around to the sides. And then I can have this whole area be dedicated to the Klingon warrior motif. But it also works really well as cargo, a two-story cargo. But I haven't decided yet how far I want to do that. I could also just reclaim these areas here and use them for ship systems as well. This could be life support, and over there could be life support. But again, the Klingon ship has to have a lot of cargo, mainly because of the fact that they don't have replicators. They don't carry materials to create things out of thin air. So all their food has to go with them, and they prefer their food live or freshly slaughtered. So they have to have gawk farms, and again, I believe gawk is a form of a worm. I could be wrong. I'm not into Klingon lore as deeply as I could be, and yeah. And then they also have the targ pits for live targ, which is kind of like a pig, uh, the war pig, but they eat them too. Yum yum. And then there's the other Klingon foods that they might eat, which could be dry storage stuff. So you never know with Klingons. It's a mix of all of that. Let's go ahead and bounce outside real quick here, and I'll show you what I've done on the outside. I went ahead and repurposed this deck as a smaller cargo doors because I noticed I was looking over the Katanga. There was a excellent model builder who did a very detailed build of a Katanga from the motion picture, and these right here on one side were cargo doors, and I decided to go ahead and just put them on both sides and mirror it because why not? And come up through here. I went ahead and changed the deflector from the design that Burnt Toast went with, and I went ahead and added in this red. And I've started out, placing out some of the more hull details here, but I don't know how far this pattern will actually go. I may actually change this pattern. Added some more details, greebling stuff to those panels right there. Copped off the turbo lift thing, and I'll be adding more greebling and stuff up here because now I have a more detailed view of what it looks like. I've also experimented around with designing a Klingon shuttle. It is absolutely atrocious looking, but this is the amount of green blocks I have to work with. There are not very many Klingon specific blocks to play with, and yeah, so you use what you got. Anyways, it's just a transport shuttle. That's it. It'll work. And if they want to use it as an attack shuttle, I guess they could do that too. But we have no Klingon shuttles on the server, therefore it's pretty much make it up as you go. I've started working on the overall design and shape of the hangar, and I have not yet decided on what I want to do with block patterns and things like that. So I'm just kind of gonna leave it and think about it later. But I just wanted to get the overall shape and design of it down. We have a central transporter, command, landing control, some braces back here, and then I decided to go ahead and add access to the lower floor. And if you bounce around the corner, you have a limited access to this upper floor. I did move the corridor from this side to this side so that I would have more room for the deflector dish, and I added an additional level here for, machinery to deal with these right here, these deflectors, or I'm going to call them deflectors. Just sideways facing deflectors. That's what my argument is, and I'm going to keep it as that. And these are pretty massive, so they're going to have multiple levels to connect to. And basically what I'm thinking is their main machinery will connect here. It'll also connect up in here and come down here, and then it can either access out into this area here and come back, which is what I'm planning on it doing. It's just kind of a couple of power lines, conduits coming here and then coming down to the impulse bay, or into the rooms like this where there are capacitors, things to do with high energy output and stuff like that. I went along and I marked along the edges here, and what I'm going to do with all this, it'll all be ribbing. It'll just be, every block or every 2 blocks it'll have like a black terracotta ribbing, and I may or may not roof it. I may not have to worry about it. I don't know, but basically, let me show you here kind of what I'm thinking as a sort of a temporary um, indicator. I want to keep them as uniform as possible, but that may not be possible. Something like this. And since some of the floor is, you know, one high, some of it's not even one high anymore, it'd be like this. And then skip over like say 2 and then do it all over again. And I want to make this area somewhat accessible, like a crawl space sort of a thing. So if somebody does need to get in there, they can get in there. It be really a tight fit, but we can crouch now and stuff like that in Minecraft. So you can actually get into a 1 by 1 block area. Basically, you would swim, but there would be no water. It would just be a crawl space. Some of the Jeffries tubes will be like that as well. I did also go down here and I did connect the Jeffries tube system to the front of the ship, and I'll show you right here. It comes down here, and then it'll be a lifted. If you use certain blocks, you will never see the flooring or the hull, and it would come back here, and then it would step up into here, and this is, power conduit turbo lift things, for all the ship, because since they're 4 tall, I can run conduit above all of the in a lot of the areas that aren't, that have an extra space above it. I can run conduit if I want to. And so basically they would come down. If they come up here and they exit out here, it's a straight shot to the back of the ship. And again, it's another straight shot to engineering and things like that. But if you come all the way down, I'm going to have like a path that comes back here and then to this one here. You'd step up because obviously you can't do it there. And then this one here would also go up. At the top of this one here, it's going to be kind of an odd fit because I have this quarter here, and I've kicked around moving this stuff around, but I don't want to. This will just have to be one of those quirks of the ship design, and if I find a better way to do it, I'll definitely do that. But overall, I don't see a change going on there. And then all this stuff through here is just like there'll be, little rooms and things like that. I did have a stairwell coming down here, but it's redundant, so I don't need it. So I will just go ahead and do this real quick here. And over here, it transfers power from port to starboard and then forward on the ship, and then up through here, and then into this crawl space here, and then around this side, um, you just basically, it's just the deck above it. But anyways, so the power does get moved forward on the ship. Anyways, they would come through here, and these will be Klingon crew bunks. Most of this deck will be dedicated to crew and crew bunks. Still in the process of designing how I want those to look. Again, I'm not really sure what Klingon bathrooms look like. If anybody's got an idea what a Klingon I've looked through all the episodes of TNG TOS, even the movies, and all I can do is, yeah, it's going to be fun designing a Klingon John bathroom, space toilet. Anyways, come through here with the turbo lift, but the Jeffries tubes, and you can see that I'm using the side of the ship basically as a conduit. You would step down. I might actually make this more like this. So these would be like this. And you would step up into the Jeffries tube, and then down into this area here. And this will be all dedicated to ship systems, probably sensor packet for the lower part of the ship. And then, of course, you're back into the Jeffries tube system here, moving forward on the ship as well. So you can move forward from here into this room, and then through that passageway all the way to the front of the ship. So I've done that, and I've also, let's see here, what else have I done? Let's go ahead and, oh yes, over here on this side, I have exposed this section here, and these little rooms here will be dedicated to these lower sensor arrays, or these stripes. Now, I don't know if they serve any purpose on the overall ship or whatnot. They could just be there for, Klingon decorations. But I'm assuming that these have something to do with, like their bottom-facing, uh, sensor array. So when they're in orbit over a planet or whatever, they can use these as their planetary sensor array. I don't know. What do Klingons use for sensors? Nobody knows. Therefore, we get to make it up as we go. So let's go ahead and bounce back outside, and I'll show you some of the detail I did to the forward section of the ship here. I've also mocked up, I've gone through and refined a few of the decks as well, like to deal with that stuff. It's nothing too major, but I've done some more greebling work up through here just to add a little bit more depth and stuff to the ship itself. I'll continue to work on the greebling and the Aztecing as I go in the ship overall design and things like that. It's, like I say, a very slow process because I'm not very good with exterior stuff, so it's a learning curve for me. Unlike with the Exodus and then later with the Fearless and stuff, that was the learning experience. So, but anyways, I got added some more greebling stuff back here. I went back through and I did watch the motion picture, and they definitely use this as the bridge. So you see this, and they zoom in. This is what they're zooming into. But we are going to keep this as the main bridge. This will be a combat related control room, auxiliary combat control, and I went through and I reshaped the top of it, and I did a little bit more detail based off of what I saw in that heavily detailed model. So as you can see, it looks good. I like it. I also fixed all the interior stuff that I messed up in the last video. All of this through here, I do think I might actually put raised blocks like half slabs or maybe even trapdoors to give it some more depth through here, because these are technically all these paneling you see on a Klingon ship, all those triangles and stuff, they're the deflector grid. They think of it like an Enterprise when they would polarize the hull. That's kind of what these are, but these are much more effective at it because they also serve as electrified or shield intensified armor. They can take quite a few hits, albeit, Starfleet has very powerful weapons that easily overcome these, as the Klingons, found out the hard way. They messed around and they found out. So, but yeah, it's pretty much all that I've done on her. Again, I'm just slowly working through, putting in more details, working with the interior, the main deck, and just flushing things out. Oh, one last thing I did do, I'll show that real quick here, is I went ahead and decided I did not like how the way that these lower airlocks worked, so I went ahead and redesigned them and then mirrored them to both sides. So you come through the airlock, you have access way that way, which is basically, yeah, you can use it if you want, or you can step over here and go into a turbo lift, and of course to the other side as well. And then right here I added a stairwell going up. So I moved the stairwell from back here, or right back here, to right here. So yeah, you can just go down the stairwell. It seems more appropriate to do it this way. So I've decided to do it that way, because most of the time they'll just come through and they'll just step into the turbo lift, but they don't need to step into the turbo lift and they just have to go somewhere. They can just come up here and you have access to the main gangway that goes through the main corridor that goes north. I guess you would call this the Broadway corridor, because it goes from the pod all the way back to nearly all the way back into the center of the engineering section of the ship. And I also have to design the multi-level escape pods. Yeah, because Klingons do value life, but they also value honor. But when you have to, no chance of winning, it's stupid to, you know, not live the fight another day. So some Klingons choose to do that. They have the option to. They'll also have the option to use the shuttles to get out as well. Now these are like bulkheads. Basically, they're just bulkhead frames that, in the event that there's depressurization, the ship can seal off sections of the ship. Now, I may continue these throughout the ship. I have plans in some of the areas to do that, but not all the areas. I think I'll just stick it to main sections of the ship that can be depressurized instantly. So along through here, this is the main corridor again, the main deck, and this is the corridor in the main deck. You have little access areas here. I don't know what I'll use these for yet. I just put them here because why waste the space? But I can always, just forgo them and not have them. And then you have a stairwell going up. These are not the stairs I'll be using. These are just placeholders. Whatever I had in my inventory at the time to mark a stair, I will. I'm thinking of putting a forward shield device here, maybe a shield booster right here, and then having much larger shields and stuff like that towards the bottom of the ship or towards another location in the ship. Now if we jump down to here, We have the turbolift repair station, and then we drop down. We just kind of go out to the side of the ship and whatnot. And in here, this is where the main gravity generator is going to be, I think. I think I'll have it right here. So if I recall right, in Star Trek Undiscovered Country, the ship was hit on the bottom, and that caused significant damage to the ship, and they had to reroute systems in order to regain power, in order to regain gravity, and things like that. So that's what I think I'm going to do here. I'm going to put this here, and down under here are going to be a lot of interconnected systems. They're not going to be very big systems, but they're going to be like redundant systems, power transfer, stuff like that. And again, it'll be repeated or, redundantized, I guess is a word, further up in the ship in other areas. So if this area suffers damage, they just transfer the power around the ship. So yeah, that's my objective, I guess. That's my plan. I'm gonna stick to it. Anyways, I've been bouncing around for quite a bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some sleep, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Again, this is the Trekcraft server. Have a great day. Bye bye.